Hello and welcome everybody. You're tuned in to Blues News Media and I am your host, Lucas Tietzen. Now, if you are a regular listener to the show, you know that we were just originally posting things in the podcast format, and we still intend to release things like that as well. But now I have actually come across a webcam. So not only will we be reporting audio wise, but now you'll get a little bit of a visual aspect to some things as well as we go over some of the articles. They'll still be included in the show notes for you to find, but it's always nice to see it for yourself. So thank you very much for tuning in, and let's get started. Now, the first thing that I wanted to bring to everybody's attention, and I'm sure many of you have already seen this, it is the cute, lovable, adorable Spot the Robot government lapdog. And I got this article from sfgate.com, and it is titled, Video Shows Dog-Like Robot Instructing People to Socially Distance in Singapore. It was made by General Dynamics, not General Dynamics, Boston Dynamics. They were the ones responsible for producing these little hounds of robot hell. And the article opens with, a dog-like robot named Spot has been deployed in Singapore's Bishan Ang Mo Kio Park. I'm sorry if I got that wrong. To instruct people to socially distance. A video published by Singapore's Straits Times shows Spot in a pilot trial walking among somewhat alarmed, I wonder why, park goers before telling them to maintain a safe distance. What if we can get a little action here? Let's see. We don't need any sound with that though. There he is, Spot, the cute government lapdog. These things are equipped with sensors, but if I'm not mistaken, it is being piloted by an actual human being, and it's just reminding people, that lady's got the right idea, get away, to socially distance, stay away, and the excuse is to essentially have people, get people off the cops off the road, and still enforce these measures and ideally slow the spread. But it seems kind of Orwellian, if you ask me. But it says, Spot was originally developed by Google-owned Boston Dynamics in the United States. The legs enable it to navigate obstacles more effectively than wheels, making it suitable for grassy parks or other terrain. Beyond broadcasting a voice message to passerby on keeping a safe distance during the coronavirus pandemic, the robot is equipped with cameras, safety sensors, 3D mapping, and remote control. The cameras, enabled by the government technology agency's video analytics, are used to help it estimate the number of visitors in the area. They will not, however, be able to identify or track specific individuals nor collect any personal data. Okay. If the trial is a success, the National Parks Board in Singapore are reportedly considering deploying Spot for safe distancing efforts at Bishan Ang Mo Kio Park in the morning and evening peak hours. There are no current plans for governmental use of social distancing robot dogs in the United States. Not yet, at least. But I can almost guarantee you, if this goes well over in Singapore, if it seems that people will not put up much of a ruckus, you can guarantee you will see these on the streets in almost all corners of the globe. This is the idea. I believe as more and more laws are passed by the corrupt governments of the world, with the increasingly severe and draconian laws, the law enforcement, well, they're going to have problems with it. They're going to have moral conflict with what they are told to enforce. After all, they are just people too, though many of them are somewhat brainwashed and think they're doing the Lord's work. And as that increases, as the plot just escalates, they will have less and less people willing to enforce these laws. It's only natural. And as that happens, they will be able to then replace, they will be able to replace some of these law enforcement officers with quite literally robots. Robots will be enforcing the law. Right now it's just social distancing. It's just a test. We're rolling it out. But the thing with the rollout is they intend to keep going. They intend to keep pushing the boundaries. And we really need to make sure that we stop it here and we stop it now. Otherwise, who knows? What's the next step? I know, let's see, where did they make me laugh? Oh, right. They will not, however, be able to identify or track specific individuals nor collect any personal data. Now, if that isn't just the biggest joke humanity has ever come up with, how to identify it? Obviously, we have already facial recognition capable cameras that law enforcement officers can wear. They can wear this augmented reality technology to see who you are. And if you don't think that it could not be outfitted with one of these little scary hounds, you're denying reality. And then, or track specific individuals as, again, that's just the biggest joke, because they have come out and said that these phone companies, the main ones, Google and Apple, they will, in order to track to see if places are social distancing, they will use your geolocation data from your cell phone. I have yet to give up my cell phone, but if that's not the biggest argument for why I shouldn't, it's really come down to you need to get rid of your phone so nobody know, at least the government does not know where you have traveled. It's sickening that we've even gotten to this point, but that is the world that we live in right now. And if you think that in tandem with your facial recognition, that they also relate that with your geolocation data to see who you are, where you came from, and where you were going, it's foolish. And if you think that they are not going to collect such data, I don't know what fantasy world you're living in, but you need to wake up. And you need to wake up now. And just to show you that this is just the first step, some places, they're already a couple steps ahead. If we take a look at this article here, it's from VentureBeat.com. Italian airport leads Europe in adopting AR, augmented reality, thermal scanning helmets. Look at this stormtrooper right here. The article opens with, ever since COVID-19 first began wreaking havoc in China, multiple Chinese and American companies have been rushing to popularize wearable thermal scanners that can quickly detect a key symptom, elevated body temperature in public places. Now the busiest airport in Italy, Rome's Aeroporti di Roma Fiumicino, I'm sorry, I got that wrong, says it's the first in Europe to adopt a smart helmet that uses augmented reality and a thermal scanner to screen visitors, helping the facility keep sick people off planes. Similar to a motorcycle or police riot helmet in design, the N901 smart helmet is made by Zenshin, China's Guangxi technology, and looks intimidating from the outside, quite unlike the lightweight pairing of Vuzix's M400 AR glasses and Liberstream's on-site cube feted in March. A wearer's eyes are covered by a tinted and or mirrored lens, while a large external thermal scanning camera points forward. While screening devices like the N901 have obvious value in helping businesses and public spaces more safely reopen, the military-like design could be off-putting to travelers. I wonder why. The sleek helmets have been described as RoboCop-like, working in conjunction with separate masks to dehumanize the wearer. On the other hand, the large lens hides a highly functional color waveguide display, which can be used to simultaneously screen numerous people at once, automatically triggering sonic and visual alarms whenever someone registers a potentially dangerous temperature. And then I would also like to know, what is the threshold? When your body temperature gets above what temperature are you flagged? Do you become accosted by these law enforcement officers? Like, what would be the protocol? What if you just got done working out and you have an elevated body temperature? What if you naturally just seem to run a little hotter than others? How do you take these things into account? Or does it not really matter? Because, in my opinion, it mainly seems like, how can they push the boundaries? How can they encroach more and more on your freedom to the point where you even need to be concerned about your body temperature? Anyway, the article continues with, while there's also a single person temperature measurement mode, the large crowd version shows the wearer both a real-time heat map and maximum temperature readings key to multiple individuals identified by the Android-based hardware and software. Thermal measurements can be taken at safe distances in the 8 to 15 foot range, while a traditional optical camera paired with 5G, we'll go into that later, Wi-Fi and Bluetooth hardware can be wirelessly connected to a database for facial recognition. As a result, N901 wearers can move through crowds and perform mass scans rather than standing in a fixed position, screening one person at a time, and conceivably slowing the progress of security lines in the process. Rome's airport is currently using 3 of the N901 helmets with plans to add additional units as passengers begin to travel again. It remains to be seen whether Guangxi's solution takes off in other airports, but its collection of thermal, optical, and wireless features, as well as its ability to work at up to twice the distance of some rivals, will likely make it appealing to other airports as well as businesses looking for quick thermal screening solutions. You see, it's already being deployed. They're already utilizing this sort of technology in airports right now. And you can bet your bottom dollar that it's going to also be outfitted in the future onto these robots of metal hell and being deployed in multiple public spaces, like parks, like your malls, right before you enter a restaurant. These will be utilized at a decreasing rate, and it is incredibly concerning. But, you know, there is kind of some good news and bad news about all this, because these measures, now that they're being implemented, they're never going to roll back. This is the new normal that they like to tout so much. Not so much of, because this virus is here to stay, but that surveillance is here to stay. This is your life under the microscope. But if we do look at this, there does seem to be some good news, though. And that is from sky.com. Coronavirus. Scientists conclude people cannot be infected twice. Now, article opens with, a number of reported cases of coronavirus patients relapsing after overcoming the disease were actually due to testing failures, South Korean scientists say. Researchers at the South Korean Center for Disease Control and Prevention now say it is impossible for the COVID-19 virus to reactivate in human bodies. There have been more than 10,000 confirmed coronavirus cases in South Korea, with 245 deaths, a 2.3 fatality rate, which is lower than the 3.4 average as stated by the World Health Organization. A total of 277 patients in the country were believed to have fallen ill for a second time, as had patients in China and Japan. This prompted concerns that the virus could be mutating so quickly that people were not necessarily immune to catching it again. However, genetic analysis of the virus have not found any substantial changes which would effectively disguise it from the immune system. And I remember when they were first rolling out this whole pandemic. It was definitely pushing the fear. You could die at any time, and everybody you love is at risk, including yourself. And guess what? Even if you do get it, you could still die because it could just be reactivated within your body. Now, I did, at the onset of all this, I succumbed to the fear. I was very concerned about this whole thing. But as soon as I saw this, you can be infected twice. Even if you recover, you're not safe. I definitely started to question it right then and there, because that does put us in a perpetual state of fear. You'll never get better. You'll always be in danger. And it is akin to, like with the war on terror, this is the war on disease, the war on the virus. This is the new forever war, except now the war has come home. And we are all going to be victims of it. And then just to reiterate this point here, this is another one from the KoreaHerald.com. Test and recovered patients found false positives, not reinfections, experts say. And this one goes on to specifically mention that when they were testing these people again, and I started questioning this also, that you could have gotten the disease and then gotten better. And when they were saying people were being reinfected, well, I was wondering, are they actually sick? Do they have to be hospitalized again? Those were never really mentioned within those articles. And it just shows that that lack of evidence was meant to promote the fear. So the more fear you are in, the more accepting you are of what sort of agendas, what sort of policies governments would then enforce to protect you. But then I wondered, well, if people are getting if they're getting reinfected, are we sure it's not just that the virus is still being worked through the body? They never mentioned how many virus particles they suspected to be in the body. Is it just like a couple dozen of these viruses, or is it the tens of millions, hundreds of millions of virus cells that are actually necessary to make you sick? And then are they dead or are they alive? Those were never mentioned at the onset of this story of, oh, you can get reinfected again. And that's why I like this article particularly, because it does say right here that the test detected the ribonucleic acid of the dead virus, said, Seoul National University Hospital doctor at a press conference Thursday held at the National Medical Center. And I just think that says it all, even though mainstream media sources, they never went back. It was like, oh, we reported too soon. This is actually what's going on. It was, you can get reinfected again. You could die at any moment, even if you get better. Just to push that fear, to make you afraid. And a lot of people have fallen susceptible to that. And I was among them, but as new information came out, I was able to change my opinion. Fortunately, a lot of people, once they're in that state of fear, they want to stay in that state of fear. And I'm not quite sure why. Maybe they just want to be taken care of by Big Daddy government, or they don't want to admit they were wrong. Either way, it's pretty disastrous to the rest of the population. Now, this is good news. Not only do we see that you can't really be reinfected twice, we also know that it helps your immune system then. But then, naturally, it's only been a few months, right? Many more agenda pieces have yet to be pushed through. So they can't stop yet. We can't stop now. We have all this surveillance stuff that we have to implement. We want to put more robots on the street. We have to make sure that the economy totally collapses. We have to make sure the food supply chain is entirely disrupted. We need to keep up that fear. We need to keep people in a state of panic. What do we do? What do we do? Oh, gosh, whoever thought of this deserves a raise. Boom. This one's from RT.com. It's when I first saw this just a couple of days ago. A new strain has come. Meet Spike D614G, the new and improved coronavirus. Now, this says that fears that the coronavirus would mutate into a more dangerous strain appear to have been borne out, as research has identified that a new, more contagious strain of SARS-CoV-2 has become the dominant form worldwide. The new strain, which has been dubbed Spike D614G, I really hope they change that, it's hard to say, has been proliferating in Europe since at least mid-February and spread to become the dominant form during the month of March. It is far more contagious than the original strain, which emerged from Wuhan for reasons as yet unknown. Wherever it emerged, it became dominant very quickly, and in some countries, it became the only common strain within weeks. The paper notes that the rapid global spread of the coronavirus has provided it with ample opportunity for natural selection to act upon rare but favorable mutations. Furthermore, if the virus does not wane away as the weather warms, in summer there will be nothing to stop it mutating into more and more strains. And that's just, it bakes it into the cake. There will be a second wave. There'll probably be a third, a fourth, a fifth wave, because whenever they need to, whenever things seem to be calming down, they can always be like, guess what? Bunch more reports. It's a new strain. It's mutated once again. Quick, fire up the labs. We have to produce that vaccine real quick. Get it out there. Get it out there. Just make sure you hand over your money while you're at it. This is the new forever war. The new war on the disease. The new war on virus. It's not going to stop until people start to wake up and realize it's kind of a big scam, but not in the sense that the viruses aren't real, that people aren't actually getting sick, that people aren't actually dying, but the massive transfer of wealth and the consolidation of power is incredibly concerning because it is consolidating, what do you know, into the hands of people that are known criminals and liars. I don't know why I would trust them at all at this point, and yet many people are begging them. They're begging them to interfere in their lives. It just seems foolish to me. But the article continues with, warning call. The research, which was carried out by a joint American and British team led by Los Alamos National Laboratory, has been released ahead of peer review as an early warning to other researchers. As it stands, scientists studying the coronavirus around the world may be analyzing the genetic sequence of the older strain, and therefore it is crucial that they collaborate with this team to get the latest information. We cannot afford to be blindsided as we move vaccines and antibodies into clinical testing. The lead author, Dr. Betty Korber, known for her work on HIV, said. Because the paper has not yet been peer-reviewed, it has been published online on the server BioRxiv. However, the reputations of the scientists involved suggest that the findings are sound and must be taken with the utmost seriousness. The report is 33 pages long and short on laughs. This is hard news, said Korber about the findings. The scientists' methodology involved running computer analysis over 6,000 coronavirus DNA sequences collected from around the world, although they remarked that, quote, observed diversity among pandemic SARS-CoV-2 sequences is low. There were no fewer than 14 different mutations in the spike protein sequences, just one of which is the strain that has everybody worried. This is the strain with the D614G mutation, which is probably causing the increased contagiousness. The mutation affects the spike proteins on the outside of the virus, which allow the virus to invade human cells. For this reason, these spikes have until now been in the main target of those trying to design vaccines or antiviral drugs to combat the virus. There are currently at least 62 vaccines in development, and most of these are focused on the spike proteins. Now, last little bit is wasted efforts. Although there is not really any good news here, this may not be as bad as it sounds, kind of contradicting the rest of the article and even the title itself, but okay. There is at present no suggestion that Spike D614G is more deadly than the original. You'd think they should have led with that, since they know people are afraid and this just whips them up even more. But okay, at least it's at the end of the article. The British team calculated that people were more likely to be hospitalized by it, although they did not seem to have higher viral loads, more of the virus in their body. But even if Spike D614G is not meaningfully different from the old strain, it does not mean that nothing has changed. The problems introduced by multiple forms of a virus have everything to do with immunity and vaccination. If a person had contracted and been ill with one strain, there would still be no guarantee of immunity to another. Epidemiologists could be left every winter having to guess what the commonest strain of coronavirus will be, as they do with the flu. Furthermore, the development of a vaccine relies on designing the antibodies to match perfectly to the specific spikes on the outside of the virus. If these are mutated, any potential vaccine might not be specific enough to target that strain. Receiving the vaccine would provide no guarantee of immunity. This possibility is especially worrying on the study's authors. The authors have also been led to speculate that the widely different outbreaks experienced in different regions could be down to different strains. Spike D614G hit Italy in early February, probably around the same time as the older strain hit there. Italy has been one of Europe's most affected countries. And in America, just a few days after the first cases were reported in New York, Spike D614G was the dominant form there, contrasting New York City with the relatively mild outbreak of America's West Coast suggests that different strains could be at play. No matter what details transpire, it's clear that in a world with multiple strains of coronavirus, developing vaccines or treatments is only going to get harder. And as more and more of these viruses become prevalent in the public eye, the more demand for vaccines and the bigger payouts for these gigantic pharmaceutical companies that stand to profit off of it. So even though it says it's not as deadly, they still say, don't worry, it could still get really, really bad at a moment's notice. So, I mean, make of that what you will. I just thought that was interesting, even as reports are coming out that you can't get reinfected, that those reinfections were really just false positives. They did not miss a beat when they were talking then about how a new strain is on its way. It's all very sad, all very doom and gloomy, which is hard not to report on in this day and age. We have kind of one tiny little bit of good news. You can take it for what it is, but I thought I would bring it to everybody's attention, so maybe that you can think about it yourself. And that is from techrepublic.com. 79% of Americans fear government surveillance during COVID-19. And it says, the coronavirus pandemic has thrown global governments into a tailspin as they try to keep pace with the spread of COVID-19 by instituting new laws and issuing guidelines to keep citizens safe. Some of these efforts have resulted in surveillance measures as a way to monitor public health. Israel is monitoring mobile phone data, for instance. So is America, in an effort to track citizens who have COVID-19. South Korea is doing it by using mobile phone data, credit card transactions, and surveillance footage. South Korea and Singapore are both using smart city tools that provide location-based data in the effort as well. And, Singapore, that's where we also saw this robot dog first being rolled out. In a recent survey, a majority of respondents, 79%, said that they were either somewhat worried or very worried that intrusive tracking measures enacted by the government would continue long after the COVID-19 pandemic ended. And that's basically what this article is about. But I just thought that's some good news. At least some people, majority of people, it sounds like, are questioning the surveillance. They're questioning why their location is being tracked. I'm sure you have those other 21 diehard statists say, oh, thank God the government knows where I am at all times of the day because I'm not capable of being responsible for myself. So it's nice to see that there are still some people out there that question the government. It's important to question power and to question the sort of control that they are trying to take over our lives. We don't just have to accept it. We ultimately have the power, and we need to speak out against this sort of surveillance methods. And I encourage all of you to do so, in whatever form that may be for you. Leaving your phone at home, getting rid of your phone altogether, contacting your representatives or senators, writing to the president, writing letters to the editor, printing out flyers and handing them out to people. Whatever it is, whatever your action might be, at least take it. You've had all this time off seeing the world crumble. It's time to try and put it back together again. And I hope you enjoyed this. This is the first video episode that we've done of Blues News Media, and we'll probably do more in the future, and I hope you enjoyed it. As always, I'll put these articles in the show notes for you to find them yourself, and I encourage you to do so. I encourage you to spread all these articles. And if you wouldn't mind, please spread, share, like, comment, subscribe to Blues News Media as well, and help us grow and just get that information out there. These are incredibly dire times, and we need to do something, anything. And that's what we're trying to do here. But you can find us on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter. We're going to make a library account, Minds, BitChute, all those things. Find us. And as always, if you want to get in contact with me, you can do that on any of those social media sites. But if you're not comfortable using those, you can also email us at bluesnewsmedia@protonmail.com. We are incredibly excited to hear anything and everything. You want to let us know how we're doing, what we got wrong, even just your opinion on things, or a story you think that we should report on. Please don't be a stranger. But as always, I'm Lucas Dietz of Blues News Media, and if you take one thing away from this, hopefully it'll be this: ignorance isn't bliss.